Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us remotely, we have Anthony Denier. He's the CEO of Webull Financial. We're going to take a look at three sectors that are winning, three that are losing amidst COVID-19. Anthony, it's great to have you back with us.
Thanks for having me, Jill. It's great to be here.
All right, so let's look at three up, three down, and what you're looking at in the current economic climate.
Right. The word unprecedented probably gets used way too much in this time, but that's exactly what it is. COVID-19 has laid waste to many industries on a global scale, but at the same time, it brings out the best and kind of unforeseen positives in industries that, have been here, right? We're seeing a global economy that essentially stopped on a dime. We have unemployment that everyone expects will be at all-time highs very soon. We're adding, 5 to 6 million unemployed every week. There's no sign of that slowing. We're seeing the first global quarantine ever put in place on this type of scale. And also, we can't forget, we're in an election year, right? So politicians are going to move fast, and politicians are going to want to make big headlines for stimulus programs. And also on the back of that, you have the Fed. The Fed has been the most aggressive we've ever seen. It makes 2008 look paltry in comparison. So I am an optimist overall, but we will see.
All right, let's take a look at some declines that you're going to be looking at. There's three sectors that you think are not going to fare as well.
Yeah, so we've seen it already. Just if you look back 3 months coming off the March 23rd lows, aerospace names, oil and energy names, and of course the financials, right? All three. Aerospace, for obvious reasons, you have a ridership down to basically zero. I think we're at about 5% of our norms in terms of airline travel. So clearly you're not seeing any new orders being placed by those airline companies that just received a big bailout. You move over to oil and energy. Energy touches everything in this economy, right? And on top of that, you have, before the corona decline even happened, you had a Russia and Saudi supply battle. Energy is just extremely sensitive in these economic slowdowns. Finally, of course, you have the financials. And just like oil, these financial companies touch a little bit of everything in the global economy. And most importantly, when you have unemployment at a scale that we expect, a lot of these financial companies are going to have a lot of loans that are unpaid, which is why you saw this past week a lot of the financial companies putting up huge loan loss provisions on their quarterly earnings.
Let's switch gears and end on a positive note for sector growth. And it seems as if the sectors you're looking at really were the leaders prior to going into COVID-19.
Yeah, we've been talking about these trends for a while. You have technology, healthcare, and media. Technology, most importantly, you talk about, working from the cloud, i.e. working from home. You see all the companies that have spiked on the back of this trend. That does not seem to be slowing, even in the longer term, with a positive outlook for an economic rebound. You still have the lingering effects of this quarantine, where I think a lot of businesses will be, utilizing a work from home methodology and how they staff their employees and how they staff their offices. So this is a continuing trend. You see technology companies over and outperforming the market on the back of this. Healthcare, it doesn't get more obvious than us waiting for a vaccine and us looking for devices to track the vaccine. That's the only thing you read about in the news. We talk about flattening curve, but things really won't get back to normal until there is a viable vaccine that is available to everyone in the world for things to truly get back to normal. And then finally, you have media. I don't know about you, Jill, but sitting home for the last 6 weeks has been good and bad. Great in the fact that I spent a lot more time with my kids, but probably bad on the fact that I've watched more kid movies in the past 6 weeks than I ever cared to again. And that's all coming from media companies. The streaming services and the content providers are really doing well in this market.
They certainly are. I can tell you I'm one season away from rewatching The Sopranos again. So definitely a lot of time to sit on the couch and enjoy. Speaking of getting back to work, what are your thoughts there? It doesn't seem to be it's going to be instantaneous. We will not look like how we did on the February 19th highs. I think it's going to be a slow, gradual process. And as you mentioned when you were talking about healthcare, until there is a treatment or a vaccine, I think we're going to be practicing social distancing and not exactly going full speed back into the economy like we were prior to it.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. I mean, people, they say people do have short memories, but I think this last 6 weeks, and if it most likely will extend a little further, will be burned in people's memories for at least the next couple of years. Just like we saw in the Great Recession in 2009, we really didn't see things pick up for several years after we moved completely out of that recession. I think we're going to see a similar effect here. And they talk about different recovery methods, right? We see the V, there's a U, I've heard W, hockey stick. I mean, whichever way you put it, I think the overriding theme, which brings me back to why I am an optimist, is that they all describe a recovery. Now, the type of recovery is obviously up to a debate, and everyone has their own opinion on that. But the key here is that recovery is pretty much assumed by everyone unanimously. So, being an optimist, I am buying shares when they're at their lows. I'm looking for good companies, and I think we will come out of this better than when we started.
I certainly hope so. And I look forward to seeing you back at MarketSite when we're back in the city.
Yeah, me too. Same here.
All right. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.